What's going on, guys, and how has everyone been doing? We're like 50 subscribers away from our case giveaway for set 7, guys. We're really close, 5,500 subscribers, and then make sure you have that notification bell on so you see and don't miss the video that we give away a case, 4 boxes of the new set. But without further ado, guys, we have been testing and testing and testing a few decks, and today we're bringing you our updated Ruby Steel Mushu Madness deck, and we're going to go over some tech cards. I was going to do my 20 match testing series, but with issues on Lorcana, bugs like that, it was really hard to get like solid information for you guys. So instead, I'm just bringing different cards, theories, techs. We're going to break it down and talk about it, and then we're going to go over the deck list and again talk about it. So once everything's kind of ironed out and we get to more in real life events, I'll give you more actual competitive insight as to how things go. Like I said, with the way that Lorcana has been, it's been really difficult to get a lot of solid testing in a row, but we're going to talk about the cards and the choices and why we play certain things versus other ones. So first and foremost, we got a handful of tech cards that we're going to go over, and then we will get into the deck list itself. We're going to lead it off with our 2-cost cards. Lumiere, obviously any card that boosts the strength of every other character by 1 in a challenged focus deck maybe deserves consideration. Personally, I tried it out very briefly and it kind of did what I expected it to. Not a whole lot. It felt like a waste of a card. I have seen other people running it, and if it works for you, I guess it works for you. Just overall, I felt like there was much better plays and better ways to curve out the deck, and it just felt like it was very lackluster. Queen of Hearts from the new set as well has 4 willpower, and when she has damage, she gets +3 strength, so she comes in as a 4 strength character. That's pretty good once she has damage on her, and it also opens up the shift lines for the 5-cost Queen of Hearts, who we do run, and I think that she actually maybe finds her way in, but for right now, I don't know that she quite has that spot. Cards that are in my deck list, by the way, are not in this tech list, because we're going to talk about them when we get to the deck list. Doc was a card that I played pretty heavily. Something that this deck can struggle with mightily is card draw, card resource, card economy, and Doc was one of the ways to mitigate that. The downside was I was seeing Doc way too early in the game all the time, and I was just getting really weird scenarios where it wasn't performing well. So we tried out other things, and it just worked a lot better. So Doc found his way into our tech list instead. Mickey Mouse was a card, however, that I really wanted to try hard, really wanted it to work out too. A legendary from the new set, and when it banishes another character in a challenge, you play a character for free. Using Mickey to cheat out things like Sad Beast, to get Mushu out early, to reset our Dreamborn so that way we can't see anything. Apologies for that, we're not going to zoom in on cards anymore. But being able to get to those higher cost cards like your Mulans, things like that very early was actually really fun. It just didn't come up nearly as much as I wanted it to either. People were playing around it. They weren't giving me the open opportunities to deal with it. If they used a song to get rid of it, I'm 100% okay with that too. Just the way the deck ended up moving, we went away from playing the Mickey. Denahi, being a 3/2 body with resist 2, can put a lot of pressure on your opponent as well, and he's inkable. Being reckless, meaning you have to challenge to get any use out of him, is a little bit of a downside, but thanks to things like Mushu, Shere Khan potentially, and also Phase Out, like, that's not the worst thing in the world. So Denahi was definitely a card that I tried out a bit. It's just so many, the early curve of the deck was so difficult, and then trying to even out the top end with what the deck really needed, he just kind of fell and became one of those cards where I think he's good, he's just not quite good enough to make it into it. Kind of like my daughter's foot is good, and it's just barely good enough to make it into the video. Shere Khan, again, it's another card where when you challenge, you get a lore, so I completely understand why someone would want to play it. And if people do end up doing it, maybe we end up in a spot where we play Shere Khan as well. I tried it out a bit, wasn't the biggest fan. It felt solid, kind of like Denahi, where it's a good card, and it came down to it's good, but it didn't feel good enough to warrant that spot. Aladdin being a way to out your opponent's items. I liked Benja as well because Benja quests for 2, but Aladdin being a 3/3 body who also is recursive in his item removal, meaning every time he quests you can get rid of an item, so potentially doing it more than one time, was a big reason that I was debating playing Aladdin instead of the Benja for that item removal spot. Lawrence, 4 strength when he enters the field. It works with Flynn. It's a 4 strength character with 4 willpower. That's crazy. Once he gets that damage on him, you don't have the way to bounce to reset it. You don't have the way to remove the damage like via healing, things like that. But Lawrence, I think, is actually still a solid option that if you want to try and test, I 100% get it, and it's okay with that. We got our 4 cost cards then. We got Raya as the first one, and essentially with her, once you put a card in your inkwell, you can ready another chosen character. They can't quest for the rest of this turn, but it allows you to still be able to challenge, and that's what the deck is trying to do, is challenge a whole bunch. So she just allows you to get that extra challenge in there while you're doing your other things. Gantu's another new card that just prolongs items and actions. He makes your opponent pay more for them. We don't run too many items or actions in our deck, so overall it's not much of a hindrance on you if you want to play this card. Again, I think it's solid and I'm okay with it. It's just kind of like Shere Khan and the Denahi. It's just the way the deck curved, the uninkable count, and just it felt like it was a good card, just not quite good enough for me to play it. Jafar Dreadnought, whenever he banishes another character in challenge, you get to draw a card, and he's a 3/4 body, which is actually pretty strong too. So overall, really good card, potential card draw. If you want to play your Jafar, absolutely no quarrels there. I focus more on rush characters with my challenging. That's going to be a theme we're going to see when we get to the deck list. But I think Jafar is absolutely a card. If you're playing this deck, you should test it, try it, mess around with Jafar. I think he's definitely one of those cards who's, again, right on the fringe of being good enough to play. And it might sound like I have a lot of cards that I say are just barely not good enough, or they're good enough, they're just right outside the are they truly good enough fringe to play. And when you're looking at like a tier 2 deck, a rogue style deck, wherever we think that Ruby Steel ends up, that there's going to be a lot of variance in that, a lot of little things to try, a lot of things that separate different people's lists, and these are the type of card choices that are going to be that. I'm going to skip over Captain Hook for just a second and talk about the Beast Tragic Hero. I initially had this card in here, and I've been playing this card in this color combination for a few formats now. I think it's incredible for the resource economy, the card draw, but the deck has focused much more on challenging this set, I think, with the new cards and with Mushu, things like that. So the Queen of Hearts line, I think, has just far surpassed it. If you get the Beast down, it applies so much pressure for your opponent to have the answer right away, and a lot of time they do, and a lot of time they're able to answer it. But if they don't, obviously you generate a lot of resource for it. But I liked Queen because you can slap her down and then challenge with other characters and just get that instant draw. You don't have to wait a turn. It doesn't have to clear the bank, essentially, like get past your opponent's turn. It's just right away you get it. And for that reason, I think that the Queen of Hearts line is just better right now into this format. Captain Hook and Pyros, both of them, when they challenge and banish a character, they can either ready themselves or another character. Pyros, you can ready any character. Captain Hook, he can ready himself. So if I was going to play one of them, I'd probably play Pyros because he can ready up like your Robin Hood, your Calhoun, your Big Maui to take out a bigger threat, things like that. So I think if you're going to play one of them, I would play Pyros. Their 5/4 stat lines are very, very strong. Both 5 cost, both inkable. Captain Hook, I guess, does play into with your Smee so that you can have a captain on board, so your Smee's not taking that 1 damage each time. That's a thing you could say and argue for Captain Hook. The Peter Pan effect, let's be honest, guys, that's not really going to come up or matter a whole lot. We got some 6 cost cards, though, that we're going to get into. We got Hydra and Maui as our first ones. So Hydra and Maui. Hydra is a just absolute tank of a card. He's a 6/5 body, quest for 2, and whenever this character is dealt damage, deal that much damage to chosen opposing character. So essentially this, you can have your Hydra, you can attack into something, you're dealt the damage, and then you can ping that damage off of something else as well. And it's just a very big body, and it's it can be problematic for your opponent to deal with. The downside was it came in as an uninkable card, and for that reason, it didn't make it into my deck list. We have Maui Half Shark. We're not playing a ton of items though, or not items, actions. So he kind of loses a little bit of advantage there. But overall, I think Maui Half Shark is a pretty strong card too. And he's one that you should definitely consider playing if you're into the deck. But maybe focus more into like some items and something like a Pirate's Life, especially if you're going to go more of the Maui Half Shark route. We have both of the Mulans in here. The Scatter Shot Mulan, or Triple Shot, sorry, is very good, especially because we got the 1-drop Steel Mulan now. I really liked her. I was playing her for the longest time and just recently took her out because it felt like having too many shift lines in there was slowing the deck down too much, and it didn't work quite as good. And I didn't think that aggro was as big of a deal as I was running into, and if they did, it was a lot of steel aggro decks, and they would take out the little Mulan before I'd be able to actually shift into this one to actually get the shift, deal 5 damage to 3 different characters effect off. So we ended up pulling the Mulan out. The other one, very nice, because if you challenge into something, all of a sudden the rest of your characters can challenge into readied characters. That's obviously going to be really strong too. I think both of these cards are very format dependent, and if you want to play Mulan, I have absolutely nothing against that. Just overall right now, it's something that I ended up pulling out of the deck. Wreck-It Ralph, I think, is an incredible card, and if you're in a blue steel deck, maybe you tech it in for the mirror match, because ramping into it to get it out pretty early can be very strong. In this deck, I think it's a little bit too slow though. It's a little too late by the time you get it out. And then lastly, we have Namari. So for each opposing character banished by a challenge this turn, you pay 2 less to play this character. So it's not uncommon to play her for 5. She has resist 3, 5/5, quest for 3. Am I saying she's good enough to play? Not necessarily. I'm just saying you could realistically get her out for 5, and that's a absolute beast of a card at 5 ink. Fan the Flames, just being able to ready a character, then you can go ahead and swing into something once again. Some songs. These are your actions if you're playing like a Half Shark variant. I'm Still Here. Being able to draw a card and get resist 2, pretty strong. In addition to that, you can go ahead and give your opponent's illusion character the resist 2. You still draw a card, and now their character basically gets banished because you chose it for an effect. One Last Hope. Chosen character gets resist +2 once again, and if it's a hero that's chosen, they can challenge readied characters this turn. So once again, it's giving you the option to be able to go after readied characters while also granting you even more resist, so you just don't take damage. Strength of the Raging Fire, being able to clear and deal with your opponent's boards via non-challenging methods, or just get their willpower low enough so that all of a sudden now your Calhouns and such can finish them off and take them out. So with item decks also running so rampant right now, Find 'em Flatten 'em might not be the worst option out there for you, and especially being able to recycle it with your Half Shark and use it, maybe you can get by with just 1 to 2 copies, but being able to just get rid of all of your opponent's items can be pretty detrimental. Pirate's Life, just being able to claw back versus aggro decks, and also closing out the games into the slower ones. Some items maybe you want to consider. Ruby Chromacon. Exert, and your chosen character gets +1 strength this turn. Kind of like Lumiere, you're getting strength for your characters, and that's just something that's going to help and benefit you. Your Vitalisphere, you have to pay 1 for it and banish the item, but you get rush and +2 this turn. Likewise, Last Cannon, you pay 1 and banish it, but you get Challenger +3 this turn. So there's a few different 1-cost items that offer unique and different but similar effects, and I would almost go with Ruby Chromacon because you don't have to pay the additional ink for it, first off, and second, you can use it more than 1 time. So me personally, I'd lean towards Ruby Chromacon if I'm going to play one of those items. Medallion Weights does offer you potential to draw. You can exert it and pay 2 ink. Chosen character gets +2 this turn, and whenever they challenge another character, you may draw a card. They don't even have to kill it in the challenge, they just have to challenge. The last tech card we have before we get into the deck list is Ruby Coil. So during your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, chosen character gets +2 strength this turn. Kind of like Ruby Chromacon, it's just one that you don't have to pay additional for, and you play it, then you ink for turn, and then Lo and behold, you get +2 strength. I would probably play this even out of all the items. I think Ruby Coil is the one I would go for. The +2 strength. All of a sudden, your Calhouns and Robin Hoods are swinging for 5. Especially Robin Hood, swing for 5, resist 2 because of Mushu, and 6 willpower. That is a beast of a card. And you're going to get 4 willpower or 4 lore for killing something. Yeah, sign me up for that one. So let's get into the deck list now. Price kind of stabilizing and settling with the new set. We're at about $282. We have 12 uninkable cards, 60 total cards. You're going to see that being super common. But overall, in our one-drop spot, we got Mulan still and Robin Hood. So one thing I did consider here was playing Simba over the Mulan because they have the same effect when you play this card, draw a card, choose and discard a card. And since we're not doing the Mulan shift line anymore, I thought about going for the 2 willpower instead of the 2 strength. But at the end of the day, I liked Mulan, especially because you can bait things out and your opponent doesn't have to know that you're not playing the shift line. Especially like you leave her, you don't quest. At certain points of the game, once they start to get more characters on the board, you just leave her readied and really make it look like you're going to try to go for that shift line on the Mulan, and you might be able to just play that mental game with your opponent and bluff it, or maybe they have to use a song to take it out, because if you hit them with the shift line, you just board wipe them. So it offers that unique interaction there, where especially if they don't know your deck list, don't tell them that you're not playing the Mulan. Robin Hood, obviously for Robin Hood things. I wasn't playing Flynn Rider for the longest time in the deck. I felt like Flynn's not as good this format, but a lot of my games were going very long and grindy, and it's like if I would have had that if I would have had that pressure from Flynn early on, I think I could have closed a lot more games out early. So we did put him back in, and pretty much what we were expecting happened. We started winning more of those grindy games in a bit quicker of a fashion. It forces your opponent to have that answer. They play so many answers right now. Like, don't be surprised if your Flynn gets outed all the time. Look at it like this. They had to use that card to out Flynn. Otherwise, they were going to be in a lot of trouble. Our first rush card we're going to talk about, we got Queen of Hearts in there. Again, it's another rush card. We have so many cards that benefit from getting extra challenges, being just challenging in general, being able to have other characters down, and then you have like your Fei Zhao, and you have your Fei Zhao, you play him. Next turn, you challenge with something. Then you slap down one of your rush characters and challenge for a second time. You get the 3 lore because of your Fei Zhao. Not bad. You get a lot of lore very quickly. Into the rest of our 2-drop spots, we have 4 Calhoun. Shouldn't surprise anyone. We're in a challenge-focused deck, especially once you get Mushu out. Having resist 3. Pretty good. Obviously, that is when you challenge because the Mushu does not apply to them while on your opponent's turn. Mr. Smee then. It's just a quick, aggressive card, and at the end of the day, it's a 3/3 body still. So it's just another way to help speed the deck up when you need to. But at the end of the day, Mr. Smee is probably on the chopping block as far as cards go. He's near the bottom or top, however you look at it, as far as cards to come out first. Fei Zhao was a card that I didn't put in initially and just kind of kept messing around with it and came back to it. And again, just being able to get that extra 3 lore. If you're playing this card, I do recommend playing more of the rush characters like we are. It just worked out really nice, and I don't regret it whatsoever. You get out multiple of these, and all of a sudden you gain 6 lore, 3 for each copy. Works out really, really well. Pete. I felt like 3 Pete is plenty right now. I don't think there's an insane amount of B prep running around, and even if there is, I'd rather play and just not overcommit into it at the same time. Like, I think 3 Pete is plenty, personally. If you want to play 4 Pete, I understand. I'm not going to complain about it. We got 4 Super Goof. Again, getting lore for challenging, and it's rush. I really like that. Like, you have Fei Zhao down on 3. Then on turn 4, you challenge with something. You challenge with like Calhoun. You kill something. You get 2 lore. You get 3 lore from Fei Zhao. Now you play your Super Goof. You rush into something. You get 2 more lore. You just got 7 lore this turn for challenging. That's crazy. Then you got Maui on 5. You got Mushu on 5. You got Queen of Hearts on 5. You got Robin Hood. But the shift line usually comes in early. So it really depends here now, like on the rest of your hand, your board state, your opponent's board state. Do you need the card draw? Are you out of cards? Queen of Hearts, absolutely. And guess what? Queen of Hearts is one of those 5-cost shift 2 is kind of like the Queen in Amber. Do you want the resist? I'm going to challenge your board. I'm going to take out your board, worry about my card draw, worry about that stuff later. Then you play your Mushu. Do they have a very big threat that you need to deal with and take it out right away? Then you go for Maui. Like, you have a lot of different pivot options in that turn 5. Turn 5 is a very open but key turn in this deck, in my opinion. And then you can kind of see it teased there, the spice of the deck. You saw it in the thumbnail too, Scar. It feels broken if you have Mushu down and then turn 7 comes around and like your opponent could have, say, 4 characters on board, and there's a pretty good chance you just board wipe them and get 8 lore for it. You come down with Scar, and because of Mushu, you get the resist 2 and the 2 lore when you kill something. Because of the 6 strength, you're probably going to kill something. You challenge into it, you kill it, you take damage if they had 3 strength or more. Then you killed something, so you readied himself. Now he can go do it again, do it again, do it again. He could already usually take out 2 or 3 characters having 5 willpower. Now you give him that resist 2 on all these challenges, he's probably taking out 4 or 5 characters if your opponent has it. More often than not, he's going to outlast your opponent's board and get you 6 to 10 lore in the process. For what he's been doing, I've been playing him as a Saki 1-of, and I pulled it off twice, and it was just, I think I hit for only 4 the one time, but the other time they had 5 characters. Came down, just mowed down all 5 characters, got 10 lore, and I still had 2. I only had 3 damage on them because a lot of their characters only had like 2 strength, so I took 0 from those challenges. It was broken. I really liked it though. I thought that it's something I'm actually going to keep in the deck because we're only at 12 on Inkables too. 3 brawls, just generically really good card, good for the Hirams, good for the aggressive matchups, your Piglets, your Daisies, just being able to stay in the game and not fall too far behind too fast in the game. We have 7 songs, 3 Zeus. I think Zeus is insanely strong right now. I think a card that is not respected right now is Genie. So between Brawl and Zeus, we have 6 answers for a Genie. Like I said, I think Genie is a card that's not really getting the respect it truly deserves right now, and we're seeing it be incredibly strong because of that. Whereas last format, it started out the same way, but then people started to really put respect on it and play for it and plan for it, and it started to be not as good, and we saw it tank in price and really drop off as far as play went too as the format went on. But I think Genie's making a comeback. And then we have Whole New World. Like, nothing feels better than having a decent solid board that trades into your opponent's board very strong, and then playing a Whole New World. There's so many cards you have that can sing it too. You have your Robin Hoods, your Queens, your Mushus, your Mauis, your Scars. And if you really wanted to, you open bad or good, however you look at it, you can have a strong turn 3 sing Whole New World, whether it's from your Queen or your Robin Hood. And I say turn 3 because you have to play your little Queen on 2, so you can't get the shift 2 on 2, but you can get a shift Queen on 3 and then play a 1-drop pretty easily still. And then lastly, playing the 2 copies of Imperial Bow. So you exert it and you pay 1 ink. Chosen hero character gets Challenger +2 and Evasive this turn. So it's just, sorry about that. It's just another way to, 1, deal with Genies. It's another way to deal with like Half Sharks, to deal with these bigger threats. Because you put it on your Robin Hood, and now all of a sudden your Robin Hood has Challenger +2, gives him the 5 strength, 6 willpower, and evasive, so he can take out a Genie very cleanly. Super Goof all of a sudden can take out a Genie. Maui is evasive then, can take out Genie. You have your Fei Zhao, who then could take out Genie. Your Calhoun could take out Genie. You see where we're going with this? Your Robin Hood, your Mulan, your Flynn Rider, all of these characters can go swing into those Genies. And I'm not trying to say Genie's this meta-breaking card. I'm just saying you have strong options into those evasive threats. Another one, the Dirty Bird himself, Diablo. It's best to have answers for it, and being able to keep the deck as a challenged focused deck and not throw in too many songs and not to pivot too far off of what we're going for. Like I said, this is truly a rush challenge deck. If you want to play more songs, more things like that, I highly recommend Maui Half Shark. I think that version of Ruby Steel also can see a decent bit of success. But let me know what you guys think down below. Did you like the way we broke this down, talked about some tech cards, and then went over the deck list or not? But thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, we're so close to that giveaway. Like, share, subscribe, and come back again. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, take care.